So when we're looking at clinical trials, ultimately what we want to know is what treatments are going to be effective over time in the population. Treatments can't work if patients don't take them, for example. So outcomes such as adherence and quality of life are important because those are the types of things that will let us know whether in the long run use of these treatments will have an effect from a public health perspective. Will they be used? So in clinical trials, adherence becomes very important, let's say for a medication trial. In a medication trial, if we really want to know how effective a particular treatment is, or even a new device, we have to know whether or not the participants in that trial are taking it or using that treatment or intervention. So our measures of adherence during the course of a clinical trial let us know whether we're actually able to interpret the outcomes relative to the treatments having been taken. If at the end of a trial we see that a particular treatment may not have had the effectiveness that we anticipated, you have to distinguish whether that's because the participants didn't take the treatment or whether they did take that treatment as prescribed or as per protocol, and then the treatment itself was not effective. So very important to look at adherence and to use what we know about how to facilitate adherence in order to answer questions of how effective a trial was. Similarly, it's important to know whether a particular treatment is something patients are less likely to adhere to. So tracking those adherence rates during the course of a clinical trial gives us some information about whether or not we may find some problems with adherence in the long run if it's out there marketed to the public. When it comes to quality of life, people have to manage their diseases, their medical conditions, particularly diabetes, in the context of living a life and for a lifetime. And so quality of life is important because it determines whether or not people will continue or maintain a treatment the way they need to. So outcomes such as quality of life are really important to define well. Ultimately, patients themselves are recommended as having some inputs and say in what those content areas are and items are that should be measured and tracked as far as quality of life is concerned. Those have to do with those preferences and those things that people really hold true and important to themselves, which may or may not be well known or defined by the medical community or by the healthcare professionals conducting the research. So key outcomes for which input is very much needed from the targeted patient population.